Sure.
Perfect. So this panel will be
You've got your
moderated
two
by...
favorite people next to each other.
So good evening, everyone. And welcome to Leaders of Revenue and Sales. Today we'll try and attempt the mystical problem of elusive rate in our hotel industry. And with the help of this esteemed panel, attend and find how our owners can get return on capital employed at a reasonable, fair pricing. You know, before we start querying and quizzing the panel, I just wanted to bring some of the statistics to the audience's attention. Our GDP in last 5 years have been growing to the tune of 7% on an average. And inflation has been, on an average, between 4 to 6%. So if we didn't grow our rates up to 4 to 6%, we are going in real terms backwards. To make the matter worse, the competition has intensified from OTAs and OEOs of this world. So we're going to tackle some of the queries on that front. We had put together a questionnaire for you to answer, and some of the answers were very revealing. One was, do you, general manager, feel that your hotels are fairly priced? And you'll be surprised to know most of you felt no, your hotels are not fairly priced, and to the tune of 20% they're underpriced. So the subsequent question was asking how much more you should be priced to get. So you are deficit 20% as per your own survey results. At the same time, 75% of you were above 100 ARI, which means in spite of being at discount, your ARI is exceeding 100. So not further ado, let's ask the first question to the panel. So Arif, would you like to take the question on when we take the pricing decisions, we tend to take it on market dynamics. However, when we are building the hotel, we want to differentiate it, make it the best in the class. Our tech services go hammer and tongs about brand standards, have to be the premium location. But the moment hotel's built, operator says, look, this is the micro market, and all that distinction is negated when pricing the hotel. How do you address this gap?
So I think if you look at stabilized year, so year 3 or year 4, I feel price increase not necessarily comes only by rate increase. You can increase ADR by reducing pricing by doing a segment shift. So when your hotel is operating for 2 years, 3 years, you have pretty much idea about all the trends and segments. You have enough data to study and analyze. So yes, price increase has to happen depending on supply, demand. You need to have a sophisticated forecasting system, revenue management system. But for me, as an individual, I have believed and I have practiced it, that first trial should be segment shift. Right? In a market like this, why do you have static rates? Why do you have people sleeping in your bed on Tuesday night, displacing your high-paying revenue because you're not applied restrictions and other things? So if your 45% of business was contracted, can you reduce it to 25% and move it to non-qualified or retail mix by reducing bar rate? Many hotel companies or many hotels I've seen, the bars are unrealistic, right? There is a sweet spot of pricing elasticity. You experiment, you fix it, and you know at what price point you have the highest conversion. See the discounting difference between that price and your offline rates, and how you balance, strike the balance.
No, that I understand.
So
the question is more about the tech services mandating something, a very specific hotel, which is unique proposition. There's a per key cost of build of that. But the moment it comes to pricing, You are doing your bit, but the two parties interested in the same hotel are working in isolation. Um, if, after Arif, anybody else wants to take this question on.
Yeah, I mean, so there's always, listen, uh, when we do a projections for any new hotel, we work with development team. If project is on time, I can bet on behalf of most of us, the gap between what was promised and what was delivered would not be more than 4, 5, 6, or max 10%. The problem happens when project gets delayed, and there's an act of God or this beyond your control, things go wrong. But most of the hotel, when we do conversion, brownfield or greenfield, which is getting converted 12 months out, you see the performance of first 2, 3 years, you are bang on, right? And that's my experience. You start delivering true value at the stabilized year or after that. Investment cost, not for SAMHI, but many owners, is return on ego more than return on investment. And second generation of owners are also changing. I think they're sound business people, they understand, right? You can't go for Novotel and spend Sofitel's money on a product. You're not going to get return because that's what brand positioning is, right? Unless until market is supporting you for that kind of average rate, you're not going to get the true value. So I think.
So James, you work with tech services guys closely, I guess, for all new signups?
I do indeed. I think you ask a very good but very tough question to start with. The reality is, if we don't get it right, we lose owners' trust, is the reality. And you have to be honest about that. And the importance of doing your due diligence when you're looking at certain deals, making sure it's the right brand, in the right location, with the right product is absolutely critical. And I think in today's age, where no longer it's individuals of high net worth that own hotels, it is asset managers looking after it, backed by insurance funds or however the project's been funded, hotel groups do have a due diligence to make sure that the maths stack up when you put the numbers against it. Now, sometimes markets move in your favor or against your favor. That can happen, depending if it's a new build or a conversion. But it's something we've listened to our owners quite seriously. We have a global owners association. They've talked about this topic at great length. And it was one of the reasons, not the only reasons, but one of the reasons that we launched a new brand last month called Voco. Now, Voco is playing in the upscale market, but the interesting thing from an owner perspective is it's conversion friendly, and that's how it's being tagged. And what that means is to plug into the IHG system or to plug into an IHG brand, the CapEx investment is a little bit more moderate, maybe versus some of our other brands, which means that it's highly attractive for owners of independent hotels that would like to join a big hotel group like ourselves.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I think the land cost is static, whether you build a 30 lakh a key budget hotel or a 3 crore luxury hotel. With land cost being static, brand standards being quite exacting, eventually that's all that's fine, but when it comes to selling, the market reality is very different. Like a city like US or UK, in one of these cities, you'll get $300 a room night, whereas $300 in India, you will not get a single RFP into your hotel. Now, having said that, I think market reality perspective needs to come in when the brand is signing up, and maybe, as you mentioned about tech services, brands may need to look or should need to look on emerging and nascent markets. Look at China. There are tier 2 and tier 3 cities in China where 5-star hotels have RevPARs of $20. Now, we all know how many hotels in India are up for sale and how many NPAs are going to be declared. And this is all because you're making those investments. And like we just discussed, for a 2 crore key, you need to have 20,000 rupees as average rate.
Correct.
You cannot have it. So
Why
I
cannot
think,
happen? Airlines are delivering those kind of results.
Actually, just to add to it, size of the hotel, maybe that can reduce. so you get higher average rate. Your capex is lesser. Size of room size can differ. Infrastructure or tech infrastructure, maybe go lighter and not go the whole hog of PMS, which is a very high cost. So those are things that brands can tweak when they come into markets like emerging markets or nascent markets.
Fantastic, thank you. Renu, would you want to make an attempt?
Yes, definitely. I think, pricing is just not the pricing factor alone. Like everybody has said, that it depends on the location, depends on your inventory, and depends what your position is. If you're at a premium position, you can certainly demand a higher price. And we've had some great experiences in 2-3 cities, especially if you take Amritsar. The price that we command is much higher than the other competitors, talking about market dynamics, and we've been doing really well. Same thing, Mr. Chatwal showed us at Santa Cruz. We are a hotel near the airport, but we decided not to sell it as a hotel near the airport. As an airport hotel. It was a business hotel in that location. And also, one must look at your pricing at a higher plank than your competitor. If you're going to chase competition all the time, there's going to be no end to the game. So you're not going to really make what you want to do, and then you'll have unhappy owners. And none of us want that. So that's my view.
Let me take your question a little head on by saying, tech services don't overspec. It works the other way around. When you as ownership come to any brand, you're signing up for a brand. And that's what you need as a brand equity. I'll probably look at your question in a little different way and say that what we're really missing today in emerging markets is a lighter model to operate limited services or tier 2, tier 3 hotel model. I think that is what is missing. If you get that correct, pricing is pretty much, it can definitely go up, but we always price in a way which is in a rate value matrix and looking at where your brand positioning and your product positioning is. Today, it's a classic example. All the companies have multiple hotels in the same city, priced at different price points. So that's not really a challenge. But your question comes from return to the ownership. And if you get the lighter model probably correct, then that can really, change the game.
So Jatin, you are saying Hilton's going to do 50-room hotels?
It's not about doing 50-room hotel, but it's about saying if you're going to do 150-room hotel, it's going to run a little differently instead of running as a proper Hilton. If you're going to do an HGI, probably the POS and the other costs might come down and give you better returns.
Perfect. Yeah. So we all need to engage with our tech services a bit more. So second question is, I'm going to a little bit unshackle myself from the moderator role. It's about owner influence on ADR and pricing. Any one of you want to take this question? What do you think, to the detriment, to the favorable? How do the owner influences the pricing?
Purely depends who your owner is, and I'll tell you what I'm trying to say. First of all, the onus lies with us as well. How much do we educate with our ownership? How much do we do a dialogue? But again, today the world is changing. We're dealing with a lot more asset managers who come from institutions, who come from proper asset management companies, where there's a better dialogue, which can take you into a better space. If you look at bigger cities and all, I don't think that is the case really. It's a mixed bag, but real challenge comes when you're in a smaller city where the returns and all are a little slower, and probably the local players are doing better, and sometimes you as brand get handcuffed on some other things. That's where the owner starts putting their expectations on the table. So I think the onus also lies on us. How do we educate our owners as well?
Yeah, and we work in collaboration. I mean, the fact that the owner has appointed the management company, there's a trust, and obviously the faith is that the operator will do the right thing for the owner. So we have to keep that in mind. You have to keep the market reality in mind, and you have to keep the fact that he perceives you to be doing the best for him or her as the owner. So I'm saying it's very important to keep that trust and faith with the owner. And the fact that he's given it to a management operator, then we better do a good job.
So we are all politically correct here, right?
No, but
Nobody wants to be honest in this.
We own our own properties as
Do you
well.
think owners are unreasonable?
there are owners and there are owners. And listen, who wouldn't like to have an owner like Mr. Oberoi involved in the hotel? So, you're shaking your head, okay. Okay. No, but really, they bring tremendous value. And guys, after all, it's his hotel, and No, I'm only looking at you. And, okay, I'll look this side. I think the owner may be owning a few other businesses. There is synergy in those businesses to get business for your hotel. I think they can potentially bring tremendous value to the table, and there could be lots of learnings. As you mentioned, you have an owners association. There are owners council for brands.
In
And I
India also have owner unions. So,
Vinay
that's fine, but
Vinay, can
does
you get us
that
on the
push the
WhatsApp group?
ADR up?
Vinay, can you get us on the WhatsApp group, please?
I'm sure you have one of the guys slide in.
Brands are obsessed with standards, right? So if the hotel doesn't meet standard, what does the brand do? They kick the hotel out. However, who's looking into the bottom line? So if the owner doesn't meet the bottom line, what good is it? So,
Absolutely.
so again,
When
there are owners and there are owners.
Yeah, just jumping on there. You know, when it comes to pricing, clearly, you've got to get close to what your owner's aspirations are, and hopefully, your development team have come close to those promises. Sometimes there's gaps, like you say. I think when it comes to pricing in this industry, there's too much human intervention because. And I've got to be careful, the audience here is a third GMs, but I think many of our GMs get involved in pricing decisions that they probably should not. Many of the big groups have robust revenue management or pricing tools, and they're there for a reason. They're looking at algorithms, demand, supply, on how they price. And really following a common theme of the conference today, technology is critically important to get to those pricing promises. And IHG realized that. And a few years ago, we invested a small amount of $300 million with a company called Amadeus. And the reason we did that is IHG is a hotelier. We are a hotel company. We are not a technology company. There was very smart people sat on this stage early this morning that got great technology behind them. And IHG, to be relevant in today's market, today's distribution, needs to have a state-of-the-art, cloud-based guest reservation system, which we call IHG Concerto. And all of our owners, all of our 5,500 hotels, will get the benefit of that. And we're currently rolling it out globally. And what this will allow us to do is do what our guests, our customers want us to do, because our owners are one important customer, but also so are the people that buy our brands. So in the very near future with our hotels, not only will you get a better booking experience, which will drive direct business, but you'll also have the ability to book on the top floor, the bottom floor, the corner room. You can start selecting where you'd like to be. And we will do what we call attribute pricing, which is really taking the revenue management game and then going on some. The other piece that's important, and I do believe this happens on property, we don't invest in the right talent with revenue directors or revenue managers. So if we take IHG Concerto, it's like giving the keys to a Ferrari to somebody who's never driven a car before. So for our owners, or indeed our GMs, the importance of investing in great revenue management talent is critically important. And when you can't find that, IHG has another solution, which is actually you don't need your revenue director on property. We can manage that remotely through what we call IHG Revenue, which is a remote team that's looking at data and analytics away from the emotion and telling you how you can sweat the asset and hopefully get close to your owner expectations.
So you are taking the cue from Ritesh's conversation this morning, where he talked about 5,000 of his hotels are run by 9 data scientists. And probably IG, how many revenue managers would you have
I don't
in
think
your
we're that
company?
close. I think we might need a few more than 9.
So you would have a few thousand of those. And it's funny, we say we cannot get that technology, whereas Ritesh's company was funded with less than 100 million to start with, and market capitalization of Accor, Hilton, Indian companies being Indian companies, relatively small in scale, but for IHG, they're all in tens of billions of dollars. So how can we still not see the forest through the woods and invest on those modern technologies which a $100 million company funded as a startup can invest and bring. Sometimes it baffles me, who is the David, who is the Goliath here? And we just, are we stuck in time?
Some might be stuck in time, but that's the exact reason why we have invested in the technology. And it was, look, let's be honest, hotel groups, big hotel groups sit on antiquated legacy systems. And were we slow to move? I think the industry was slow to move, yes. So certain technology companies came in. However, in today's world, we're very confident on the technology and the platform that we'll have, which was deliberately cloud-based, which allows us to change it. Because one thing that's for sure with any technology solution is you're going to need to keep changing it permanently.
Yes.
That's the reality of today, and that's the platform that we're putting in place with our hotels.
So how many data scientists are working with any one of you? We can tackle this question. So Ritesh has 9 data scientists in his revenue team.
I think it's what these guys have done, whether Airbnb or this thing, they've given us a root shock, right? So CEOs were focusing on loyalty programs and distribution and this and that. Nobody invested on technology, right? As James said, everybody's woken up, and I think everybody has robust a plan in place. I can tell you for Accor, there's a huge investment which has gone in technology. We acquired a lot of companies. So it's all happening. Personalization is talking about like how you select a seat when you do a web check-in for airline. Same thing, you can select your room, what you want. All that is happening. But there's a space for everybody, I feel. Anywhere in the world, if you look at, only thing between them and us is we provide service, they don't provide service. They're trying to provide online experience, but that's a key differentiator. What's going to happen? Who's taking a liability? If something happens in one of those hotel rooms, who's going to take liability? So the segment you're attracting is different. But I appreciate what they've done is they've changed the behavior. India was all offline. Kisko janta hu, what it is. People have started buying things online. So Make My Trips, we got to appreciate what they're doing is helping us also, right? When consumer buying behavior changes, entire industry gets benefited, right? I would say, who in India was buying online till Amazon came or Flipkart came or Make My Trip came? We didn't have credit card penetration. They said, we'll deliver you at home, right? They adjusted the business model. We got everything at home, and they're picking it up also. So I think they've helped us a lot as an industry. And I can tell you in the last 3 years, the buying behavior of consumer has changed. What we did is, when we realized 2.5 years ago that credit card penetration is below 1%, and our booking path, you could not complete reservation without credit card. We said, let's get rid of this credit card guarantee and say, you're welcome to cancel whenever you want to cancel. In 3 months, type 100% spike. In web business, whether it came through OTA, didn't matter where it came to brand.com because it was highly under-penetrated. It was delivering better flow through, right? But we took a disruptive stand. And even today, right, you can book, cancel, unless until you book non-flexible rate, or there's a peak demand and we don't entertain that. And the good part was number of cancellations were relatively, right, because you had more bookings. It didn't go up. So are we flexible in our own approach? We got to, this is what OYO did, right, or Airbnb did. The problem lies with us. Somebody else is coming and disrupting, and we are too late in reacting.
So Hemant, what steps you are taking? Like Accor now took a couple of steps. James talked about them going a little bit technology route, introducing selection by room, sort of creating a cutting edge against OTAs. And James, with the airline background, what he was telling us, that's how the airlines managed to bring traffic to their website, because on OTA you couldn't book a specific seat. Same way the IG is now booking specific room. What is Oberoi doing to stay abreast with this technological influx and change?
So all these things are being practiced at some level at Oberoi as well. But what I like to say is, what defines the price? I think hotel marketing is a very composite piece. And what we forget is it's not just the infrastructure, but it's the service. So there is a very high cost, which is a people cost, which deliver that service. So as an example for Oberoi hotels, there are great hotels that are built, and Oberoi Rajvilas was one of the first hotels that put India on a luxury map of the world. But it's more known for not just the product, but for service. And we won, most of our awards that we have won are because of the service. So if you have a good product with great service, your marketing cost will always be lower because there'll be a lot of repeat purchase. That's one. Secondly, who delivers this service? It's the people. So the people philosophy, which is you spend some insane amount of time in hiring right. You hire them right, then you train them, and you spend a lot of effort, energy to train people, and then you empower them so that they perform. So hire them right, train them, and empower them to perform. Ultimately, we are still in a service business, and pricing is also a derivative of what great service you provide in your hotel, and customers will pay you a premium over your competitor if you do these things.
So since you touched on marketing, I have always the bone of contention with brands. When they talk about marketing, I think our industry doesn't understand marketing at all. We got it wrong. When you look at McDonald's, they come to the country. They say, look, we're going to paint the country red. We're going to talk about it. Our first return on investment going to come in a 7-year time because we're going to do marketing spend. When Beamer is launching their first vehicle, they go the same way about it, all automobile companies. But the hotel brands, when they come to the new country, new city, new brand, they talk about collecting 2% marketing fee from the owners and say, wait, let me fill this kitty up. I will show you the results. It just doesn't make sense. How do you, see, unless you create an aspirational brand, you don't communicate, you don't talk about it, and you are back-ending the whole spend. How does this particular international brand, and this question is more for international operator, Jatin's not spoken for a while, now that he's at Hilton. So I want Jatin, how much of 2% collection Hilton has made?
Okay. From every hotel. No, I'm going to break this in 2-3 parts. One, yes, you're absolutely right that marketing is not really given so much importance in our hotels. Look, there's a brand umbrella under which you come, and there is a lot of brand marketing happens. Where I agree with you, what brands are not doing effectively today is coming to the local market and doing brand campaigns. That is very, very important. And when I say that, I mean to say not to say that we're running a big Conrad Bangalore in worldwide, but we're talking about an India, Conrad Pune, and Conrad Bangalore campaign, which is going to give them net results, because reality is today everybody's got 60% Indian customer who are within your local consumption. So you've got to build that brand within India to answer your question. So you've got to do a lot more local brand campaigns. The other part which I feel where hotels go wrong, and all our colleagues over here, general managers, what I feel is that we do not invest in hiring a good marketing manager. We need to get out of this role of director of sales and marketing, where marketing is reporting to director of sales and marketing. Reality is a GM and a director of sales and marketing not really know too much about that space. You get that person out, hire a specialist, and you will see how it will change. 90% of our hotels today still keep on doing food festivals and some staycation and some weekend package. That's the reality. But you get that marketing manager out, you get the right person, you will see how it will start changing. So I think we need to look at this in a two-way. First, need to do something at the hotel level, and brand also needs to do
So we
this.
just needed a data scientist, now we need a marketing
Marketing.
tech guru.
No, but you already have.
Soon we need to throw out.
Sorry, there's one.
But you already have marketing managers sitting over there. But what happens is, because they're reporting to director of sales and marketing, you end up hiring a fresh graduate who comes as a marketing supervisor, whose job is only to speak to creative agency, dish out 6 creatives, show a Rajasthani festival with a guy with a Rajasthani pagdi and big mustache, badhiya lag raha hai, laga do. And life moves on. So I'm saying change that, get a proper marketing manager, spend some extra dollars over there and you can see the
So
difference.
in the long and the short, we are saying we are screwed up. There's no hope
No,
for
I
us.
would.
No.
Vinay, I think we
There
all are
is
hoteliers.
one-
So let me not be politically right. The problem lies in corporate office.
No, 1 sec.
Okay.
There's one hotel
Okay, so
company.
I'll tell you, in an international environment, that 2% went outside of India, never came back. I changed that at AccorHotels and I said, I keep it. I decide what is relevant for India. There is zero co-management. I'm sorry, James is here, but I worked in a metrics organization. A guy wants to pee, he has to write an email and ask for $5 to pay to Sulabh Sauchalaya, right? So, A, we trust people, we hire, and let them run the P&L and make them accountable. If today it's all about relevance, what works in Conrad or what works in Fairmont in Canada doesn't work in India, or what works in Sofitel Singapore doesn't work in India, right? So how do you keep your brand relevance? We don't depend on source market, right? 75 to 80% in luxury hotels today guests are Indian. If you go further down, right, Ibis, 99% guests are Indian. What happens in France? Who cares in India? That's why we came with Ibism. It's created in India for Indian consumer. You will see in next few weeks something coming out on Novotel. The brand guys in Paris and Singapore, they said, listen, just hold on, look at the whole thing. If you have any critical input, give it to us. We are not bastardizing the brand, right? We are not changing the DNA, but we are bringing something which is more relevant, more engaging content for the consumer. Same thing happened at operational level. So I think my message is get rid of this metrics organization. You have senior people, leave them alone to do their work. These checks and balances, keep it in finance and legal and development maybe to some extent, but sales and marketing, if you really want to flourish in a different environment, right, do what is relevant, and for that's why your local expertise. The problem happens when you hire local expert but impose them with your global ideas, the guy gets confused. I operated in a similar environment, I can tell you, but those learning helped me. When I was negotiating, I said, this is how I want to work now. And it's really helping company, everybody's happy, owners are happy, company is happy, and it's working well. So it purely, problem is at corporate office.
Okay,
Trust
one
me.
sec, Arif, I just want to add here. I think there's one international brand that I believe is doing a good job in trying to shift share from other international brands and the local brands. I hate to say this, but the Marriott, I think, is doing a fairly good job. They're very visible. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Wherever you go,
Saudi
you
by
enter
Marriott.
every airport, you open any magazine, you go to the digital space,
Yeah.
they're very visible. So they've somehow managed to penetrate. I don't know what their success factor is. So
Jatin just left Marriott. Ask him.
I think it's again about your local brand campaign, which is relevant
yeah,
to your
it's
market.
a local brand campaign.
Which is very, very important.
Okay. You know, so we have a problem with our revenue. We have a problem with the
It's not so
marketing.
bad.
It's not a
actually.
problem.
I'm trying to ascertain why our rates are low. So
you
I
No, I'll
came here
tell
to
you the
get
rates. Can I tell
answer
you
to
what the
my
rates are low?
problems. Now, my last question is leading towards the sales. So I figured out problem with revenue, problem with marketing. The sales was missing, so I just want to capture that piece. I stumbled onto engaging with few airline salespeople and asked them, my hotels, my sales teams tell me 30% discount to bar is standard, sir. That's the starting point of discussion with corporate. I said, fantastic. There goes the return on capital employed. I said, what about you guys? They said, in airline, our corporate average ticketing is 5 to 10% higher than the retail ticketing.
Indigo.
We give them sandwich, and that's it. Zero cancellation. But they gave us premium for getting that sandwich. I said, they take my pants, shirts, and everything else away, and yet doesn't give me 70% of the pricing which I go to market with. How do we address why corporates have got us and we can't seem to negotiate? Is it a poor quality of sales team? Is it our inability to work in a cohesive manner as an industry? Is it the fragmented approach to selling? What it is that gets us this pricing conundrum that we are in?
Okay, I would say I believe it's a fragmented industry, because if I don't give the rate, somebody else will. There's definitely an opportunity to improve the rate. I think in your surveys, 20%, I was one of the people who responded.
Yes.
Because it's all about growing your RevPARs. And I do believe there's an opportunity. We all do it, and no cartelization here. The thing is, we all need to now take advantage of the uptick in demand. And since the last 4 years, I know we'll have a problem in the last quarter of this financial year because elections. But the last 5 years, we've never crossed 60%. This year, we've crossed 65%. Yeah. This is the right time to take price increases in the market. And we really need to communicate to the corporates that enough is enough. Because we really made an attempt at the Taj to reduce the inclusions. And we were fairly successful in 45% of the cases. So I think if we don't take the price increases now, we'll be stuck in this spiral.
So we haven't seen the upcycle in last decade.
So I guess
I think 2014 onwards, we've seen an uptick in demand since 2014.
That's what I was going to say. I guess the ex-airline man should really pay reference to what the difference is between airline and the hotel group. Competition, in one word, is why a corporate would prefer to buy from the hotel group versus airlines. One of the most lucrative routes in the world is Heathrow, New York. 4 airlines fly that route. So guess what? There's a lot more control from a sales perspective in terms of what you are and you're not going to give away. With that said, in today's world, when you talk about sales, let's just be clear on where your salespeople spend their efforts. Because it still amazes me that in some hotels, we still manage connected channels, whether it's an OTA, a wholesaler, or anything else, as a sales account. That we should not be managing as a sales account. That is a channel, and it should sit with your revenue management team, and you distribute the correct price accordingly. With your sales team, your proactive sales team, they're the guys that are out there negotiating with the corporates, negotiation crew, and all of that contracted business that you want to win, certainly on the MICE side of things as well. So we need to think differently around traditional sales versus what is today's sales environment. And that does roll into marketing as well. So your marketing resource shouldn't just be a traditional marketing resource that's looking about what can we do on property. It should also be better understanding how do I spend my digital marketing dollars to drive business direct, but also how do I think about managing those channels in terms of content, which was discussed in the previous session, I think, this afternoon.
I think the fundamental difference with airlines is in the business of transportation, where we say this, we are in the business of hospitality. And where airline is more tech-driven, we are still very people-driven. So wherever you involve more people, there is bound to be ad hocism, there is bound to be emotion. And that's one of the fundamental reasons why you get calls in your hotel and saying, you're going to charge me 15,000 rupee rate, you don't know who I am. How many airlines get this call? And it's so easy to get an upgrade in a hotel, like you have to just ask for it.
The airlines don't encourage any conversations.
And there's nobody to converse. So if there's nobody, how will you get the discount or the upgrade?
We have too many people working in our hotels. That's the
a
problem.
point.
I think
That's
we are
a
very
point.
accessible. And again, the fundamental, we are in the hospitality business. So if somebody screams a bit, we give him everything, including a bottle of wine. So
And a low price.
Usually the best thing to keep anybody shut. It puts you
Also, a second difference is how they synergize between themselves. All the 4 airlines are also synergizing, for lack of a better word. They have a common loyalty program, Star Alliance, One World. Here in hotels, in the same city, same brand, two hotels will compete with each other, and airlines will do code share with competitors, right? So having said that, how will you ever get that?
Who do we need to fire for this problem? The problem.
I think.
So they are a
synergy-
commodity,
I
we
think-
are a perishable
I think-
thing, so those kind of synergies are never going to come. Let's be realistic.
No.
So
I
at
disagree.
Stroud, I had challenged SPG team. I said, you have one, your Marriott Rewards, your, IAG or Hilton, everything. Why can't it be one? And let people choose where they want to book. You are saying 100 million, that guy is saying 200 million, 70 million. If you're 100 million loyal members, you don't need salespeople. The reality is the loyal member sleeps more nights in somebody else's bed than your bed, right? So the point is, those kind of things, you're not going to reach that level of synergies what airline has because purely the business model. We are different than airline. They're a commodity, so we shouldn't compare. It's like comparing India and China. It's never going to happen, guys. So same thing. Let's not compare our business with airlines. The oxygen for us, when they do well, it helps us, but that's it. We should synergize, but not compare the business model.
So, I was reading one statistic, since you talk about they help us. Delhi airport used to bring for your benefit, 13 million passengers per day, only 2 years ago. Today, Delhi airport is bringing 19 million passengers per day. Those 6 million who have come into a market, where have they gone?
They've gone to AeroCity, 3,000 rooms. So let me give you another stat. We did a study between correlation and airline seats in a hotel. So in 1990, India had 100 aircrafts, and each aircraft, I don't remember exact number, hypothetically, delivered, let's say, 150 room nights a day. Right? Today, we have 400 and odd aircrafts, and numbers changing because every week we are getting deliveries. The same one aircraft is delivering 450 room nights. You got to go back and check length of stay. When I have one night length of stay, I have to sell more. I need more customers. I need more bums. Those days, because you did not have connectivity, your average length of stay was 2.9, 2.1, 2.3, 2.4. So it's all happening, right? You just can't look at where it is gone in isolation. Today I can...
6 million.
Yeah, no, I can arrive from New York and reach Bangalore by connecting flight. When did that happen 5 years ago? So it's great, right? It's creating traction. So AeroCity, look at 3,000 rooms ramped up in 3 years. Where did that happen in India? What I'm trying to say is, it has helped the ecosystem, yes. Today, you spoke about discounting and corporate. If you really study data carefully and you decide, I don't want to be part of RFP, I think it's a time to take calls, right? These LRAs and all have affected our business. We couldn't yield the demand at the right time, so non-LRA, lesser RFP is good for business because this unstructured demand, I was in Lucknow, whole of UP, which if it was an independent country would have been the 5th most populous country in the world, 26 crore people, 2 airports, Varanasi and Lucknow. In last 4 months, there are 7 airports. You have Lucknow, Goa non-stop flight, 2 flights to Srinagar, 2 daily flights. Kolkata, it's all creating new demand, right? But you can't say everybody has to come and stay in hotel. It's helping, but it all depends on how you're doing revenue management, segmentation, right? If you're going to participate in RFP, getting 2% rate increase, but don't reduce the volume, you're not going to get the average rate increase. So that's why I said earlier, it's about segment shift.
We've got 3 minutes left, 30 seconds each to give you a conclusive mantra for increasing the rates to all the general managers sitting here. And if there's 1 or 2 questions after that, we can take.
Sure. I think my final take is revenue management is a science. You got to, it's like we're fighting a battle with man versus machine. There's so much which has been invested in software and all the technology. And I've been on that side of being a general manager. You walk into your weekly strategy meeting and all of a sudden, whatever system is throwing at you, you say, no, it's rubbish, do this. No, we should not do that. We need to probably follow that very aggressively. That's one. Second is that we probably at some point need to up our risk-taking appetite. We are going to get into a pricing season for every company. And I have seen that every company only has a pricing season, pricing strategy of saying how much percentage up. But nobody's got a strategy of which accounts am I going to walk away from. I think it's high time we look at it and say, this is the account which I'm going to walk away from. We all look up to, so many different, success models. Mr. Chopra had a success model in Gurgaon when Trident Gurgaon opened. It was famous for how many accounts they're going to walk away next year pricing by saying that I'm not going to come over at a certain price. Sometimes we need to take your risk taking appetite a little up. I think that will be my 2 bits for this whole revenue management.
Thank you. Renu?
For me, it's definitely we have to improve our FPAs, and it's going to be through pricing with the corporate market and the leisure market. 2, technology and data, something we can't do without. It's going to be the way forward. I was actually very impressed with the OYO person this morning about the data scientists, because I didn't realize the data scientists are used for hotel business because it's been such a people's business. So that is my take, and I'm very committed to improving the RevPARs through pricing.
Hemant?
I think invest in your product, have great service. This will result in repeat purchase. This will result in premium over your competitor. Number 2, hire right, whether it's data scientists or marketing managers. Empower them, let them perform. And thirdly, invest in digital.
Fantastic. James?
30 seconds to solve the rate issue, eh? Owners are demanding, aren't they? So, of course, I'm going to talk about technology, and I think if you listen this morning outside of the industry, if you think you can't drive a rate premium without having magnificent technology underpinning how you manage your rate and your inventory, you're going to lose. That's the reality. And that is proven to us not just by hotel groups, but by third parties that are playing kind of in our area. And secondly, talent. Having the right talent, leading the asset is critical. And yes, I'm a man that's worked in different industries, and it always amazed me when I first joined the hotel industry 12 years ago that we would put someone pretty junior in pricing a multi-million-dollar asset. I'm trying to work out another industry that does that. If you know, please let me know. But don't save on your revenue manager or revenue director. If you do, it's at your peril.
I'm not going to repeat what everybody has said. Look at headcount to the room in sales, and you'll find 25 room to 30 room, 1 salesperson. Take it up to 75. Lesser salespeople, lesser discounting. Because, right? That's point number 1. Point number 2, you need to have integrated pricing strategy. Ad hocism must stop. We've gone long enough on an ego trip. I'm a general manager, I'm vice president. I can abuse what I decide. So we need to send a right message. You buy from Maipalpur, or you buy from Vasant Kunj, or you buy from Aerocity or Gurgaon, you get 1 price. My last advice, don't look at OTA as competitors, have an omni strategy, omni-channel, right? We can't compete with them, take it, right? Look at it as omni-channel, how can you synergize? Not by discounting, not by participating in hidden deals, transparently, 100% pricing parity, work with them, and increase more profitable channel. Yes, there are margins and there's a cost of doing business, but it still will deliver you better value. As general managers, your flow through will improve and your owners are going to be happy.
So guys, here you are with mantra for getting your rates up. Kapil, anything from you?
I think it already is going up as you guys start walking up.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your patience and participation. Thank you, panel.
Thank you.